Can you hear us, Evan?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, just real quick, since Melissa is not here yet and we have to, the board has to take a vote to allow you to participate remotely. Director Brown is gonna kick off the meeting, then we'll all take a vote on your attendance, and then you can take over the meeting until Melissa gets here, if that's okay.
Okay.
All that, and then I'm gonna get started right now. She should be here in like 3 minutes.
Call this meeting of the LAVTA Board of Directors to order. Today's date is February 5th, 2024. All rise to salute the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we do have one member that's remote, but not from a traditional remote site, such as the Heritage House. So I wonder if Attorney Groves could tell us policy and procedure.
Yes, so the board will need to vote to allow Director Branning to participate remotely, and I believe that Jennifer has the numbers needed to have that happen.
Actually, no.
You don't, okay, no. Well, we can go ahead and have him have the board vote to allow him to participate remotely. I understand that he has an illness and cannot participate in person.
I would move that we allow him to do so.
I'll second.
Okay, other than Evan, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, motion carries. At this point, since Evan is now a legitimate member of this board of directors, I'm going to turn him over as the vice chair, for the running of the meeting until the chair arrives. Evan?
Thank you very much. Yeah, sorry, I can't be there. I have a nasty little cold here. Thankfully, it's not COVID. So I believe we'll start with the roll call.
Yes, Vice Chair Branning.
Here.
Director Brown.
Here.
Director Hubbard is absent. Actually, let me check. We have another attendee now. No. Director Josie here. Director Kipp here. Director Testa here. And then Chair Hernandez is absent. We have a form.
All right. Thank you very much. Next up on the agenda is the public forum. Do we have anyone looking to comment?
So we did have one public comment slip coming from Julie Hopkins. If you could please take the podium. And this was not an agenda on an item on the agenda or the consent.
Thank you.
I am Julie Hopkins. I work for Livermore Area Recreation and Park District. I have been an advocate for many years regarding bus 18 and their service. Unfortunately, the bus service quite some years ago had stopped, but I know that coming this summer that that on the agenda for you guys to start it up again. So I'm just hoping that we heard I run the ESS program and I have 80 children in our program. This will also affect Mitchell ESS and Sunset ESS. On that side of town, we do not have bus service. Getting to Stanley from where we are at, it's almost a mile there, walking the children during the summertime. And if it's a little bit too hot, we have to cancel field trips. So I am hoping that you will please keep us in mind for the summertime on being able to utilize the bus service again. We really missed all the places that we used to go to in Livermore. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed with my kids. Thank you.
I'm happy to respond if. Sure, go ahead. Yeah,
Yep.
So we think we will be able to accommodate the additional service in the summertime. We looked at the request. It shouldn't take additional resources. We want to build ridership in South Livermore where there currently isn't service. So we're going to see what we can do to make that happen. Okay,
If I may, understand that, so she's requesting bus service at schools in the summer. Are there student programs?
So, yes, there are student summer programs. We do summer school in Dublin for Dublin High. This route 18 will run, I think in peak periods only. It is not designed as a school tripper route. So I think the request is to look at adding one more trip around the 9 o'clock timeframe so that students can get to and from their programs. And it would be limited for the summer.
I'm gonna make a request that you check with the school to make sure that a 9 o'clock service will in fact provide bus service in time for school start. Like 8:45 school start, for example, want everybody to be on time and the same for the pickup days. That's it.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Evan. We'll go ahead.
Thank you. Oh,
Is there any
Go ahead.
public comment?
I was just gonna say there was nothing from the public in email, and we do have 3 attendees. I don't know if any of them would like to speak. If you would, if you could raise your hand. For items not on the agenda. Yeah, for items not on the agenda. No, okay.
All right, so we will go ahead and move on to item number 4, which is our January Tri-Valley Accessibility Advisory Committee. Minutes is in pretty quickly there.
And Zach Silva is here.
Good afternoon, Board of Directors, staff, and members of the public. My name is Zach Silva. I am the chair for the Tri-Valley Accessible Advisory Committee. Our meeting in January 10th, minutes, hi Kat, is we had a update from staff on the annual Dial a Ride customer satisfaction survey, which should conclude this month. We were presented with LAVTA's funding request to the ACTC discretionary grant program. The committee recommended staff submit for mobility management, the parataxi PEX, and the one-seat ride program. We also had an update from our PAPCO member. And then in our service updates and concerns portion, we were introduced to the new director of ADA and specialized services from County Connections, and some committee members recorded some observations that they've had on the recent rides. And that was our meeting in January.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Not seeing any questions. Thank you, Zach, for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move on to item number 5, which is our consent agenda. Would any of the board members like to pull include in the consent? Not seeing any, I'll go ahead and ask for a motion.
I'll move.
The motion,
I'll second.
and we have a second. I need to please forget.
Yes, Vice Chair Branning,
Aye.
Director Brown,
Hi.
Director Hubbard,
Aye.
Director Josie,
Hi.
Director Kit. Hi. Director Testa,
Hi.
and Chair Fernandez.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, moving right along to our 2024 legislative program.
Great, Jennifer Yeamans will be presenting our 2024 proposed legislative program to the board for approval.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. As Kristen said, I'm here to present resolution 04/2024 to the board for approval. This was referred by your finance and administration committee, where we discussed the item at length, some length, on January 30th. And I know that the committee members expressed interest in hearing perspectives from other members of the board on the way to approving this. I don't want to completely restate the same presentation that the Finance and Administration Committee got, but just by way of summary, LAVTA does prepare and typically approve a legislative program every year. This is based on anticipated legislative activities as well as LAVTA's strategic priorities for the year that we can presently anticipate, including bills that the agency may wish to monitor, support, oppose, seek amendments, and so forth. Generally, we develop the agency's legislative program in partnership with a lot of our other transportation and public transit partners around, especially the region and the state, so that we're in strategic alignment on most things that we mostly agree on with our advocacy partners. There are some specific things to LAVTA's priorities that I would highlight for this year's program, and these really are centered around, ongoing sustainability of our transit funding, so we can get our service to the places where people want and need it to go. Especially our priorities around our facility and zero emission bus transition needs, as well as just ongoing challenges that continue to persist thanks to COVID-19, whether it's ridership recovery, whether it's driver recruitment and retention. So with all those things in mind, you know, we've developed the program that's included as attachment two to the staff report. Usually I give a kind of a quick rundown about what's going on at the state and federal level and the transportation picture. I didn't really include that in this year's staff report because there's so much in flux, but I think at a high level, the things I draw to your attention is, I think you probably know there's a lot of uncertainty around the state budget. We are looking carefully at which of the funding streams might impact LAVTA's funding picture. I think you'll hear more about that as the budget comes to you in the next couple of months. I think the upshot there is some of our funding sources remain relatively stable because they're not necessarily tied to direct tax revenues, but from other sources. And other things, as you know, just as general rule from the state, there's just been a delay in the revenue estimates that have been coming down. So we'll figure it all out. It's kind of a mixed picture for now. I think there's more uncertainty this year than in previous years, but it's not of any clear present concern at this time, other than something to continue to watch closely. Second, we are watching closely the activities of the Transit Transformation Task Force group that has just kicked off in Sacramento, bringing together a really wide array of statewide stakeholders for public transit. This is a bit similar to what MTC did with the Blue Ribbon Transit Task Force. It's just now happening at a statewide level. And they are going to be taking a close look, in all likelihood, at Transportation Development Act reforms in the context of this work. And TDA is the quarter-cent sales tax statewide that constitutes somewhere around half of LAVTA's annual operating budget. So it is a big deal. As you may have heard, MTC is introduced, or at least identified a sponsor for authorizing legislation for a regional transportation measure. If you've been following that discussion, you know it's kind of anything that you want it to be right now, I guess. It will have to be fleshed out more. And I think, I don't even know if the language has been updated in print from the spot bill that's currently introduced. So that's another one we're watching. And then finally, the other matter to highlight is another bill that was introduced by Senator Wahab to, I don't know I should know what the most current language says, but effectively call for a plan to consolidate the Bay Area's transit agencies within MTC's service area. So that again, I don't think we have the final language of that bill either. So we'll have to continue to watch these very closely and engage thoughtfully with lawmakers and our strategic partners. So as far as LAVTA's strategy in terms of implementing the plan, we usually defer to working collaboratively with our advocacy partners at a high level. This is the American Public Transportation Association. For federal matters, I didn't even touch on what's going on back in Washington. It's kind of up there, right? And, you know, in the state level, especially with the California Transit Association, I think when we need a more fine-tuned advocacy strategy around specific things, we intend to, when it comes to matters of consolidation, collaborate with our fellow small East Bay operator agencies that we partner with a lot on a lot of matters, to take a coordinated approach together about the question of consolidation and our response, so that we can speak with one voice to the extent we can on the matter. And then otherwise plan to this year enlist the aid of outside lobbyists in Sacramento and Washington, DC to really hone in on advancing LAVTA's necessary strategic priorities, especially when it comes to our fleet transition, electrification, and the Atlantic facility. So in terms of next steps, if the board approves the legislative program today, that will authorize your executive director to begin the strategic work within the framework of the plan. We will also bring to Finance and Administration Committee as appropriate bills we may wish the board to take a position on. It also authorizes your executive director on matters of urgency, which we could anticipate happening this year. Things are moving very fast. To consult directly with the board chair in between meetings, if urgent advocacy actions are needed within the front of the board. So that concludes my report. If you have any questions about the program, if you have any suggestions to offer, I would be happy to answer your questions.
Any questions for Jennifer?
We just came from a legislative update for so many of these bills, and I looked up and it looks like Democrat Wahab has actually had a recall against her for gathering signatures. So it's the very beginning of what could be a recall. And she is the sponsor of the bill that wants to assimilate or coordinate a one massive transit agency under MTC. So my question is, it sounds like you have good support and collaboration with the other transit agencies in the area. Do you function under a single lobbyist, or do you have a transit organization that helps to be that voice in Washington, DC, as well as Sacramento?
I would be happy to take an initial stab on that. Okay. I think the answer to all of the above, because I think what we need are tailored responses to very specific needs and proposals. And so it's really a kind of a three-pronged approach. One is the coalition advocacy services that really deal with the matters that we share in common with the agencies most like us here in the East Bay that we already partner with on a lot of things. That's County Connection, Tri-Delta, and West Cat especially. So that would really address some of the consolidation questions. Otherwise, in other areas, we may be engaging completely different lawmakers on different things. Because we're in a different geographic area. And so we would have our own lobbyists, both for Sacramento and Washington DC to advance our priorities.
You would, or you do?
We are.
You will.
Intended,
You
yeah.
will,
Yeah.
okay, good, because we have 5 cities in the Tri-Valley that function under a single legislative platform, and it really does give a larger voice when you count how many residents are served through those communities, so I'll just offer that. Seems true, sometimes they function as a grant writer. And I don't know if that's of interest to
We will
you
be
as well.
looking at that.
You've got a great grant writer right here, but she's busy doing many things. So, all right, I appreciate the update. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think the reason why, so a couple things, the Wahab bill's not in the email. They try to consolidate all the transportation agencies, before in conversations and stuff like that. So it's been a conversation of many, many years. This isn't something that just like came out of thin air. But with regards to also seeing our own lobbyists is to give us, and I think I said that other meeting was to be able to give us opportunities to also try to find that grant funding for Atlantis and for any other opportunities that could arise. But it would be a collaboration, so they'd be very closely working with Jennifer, whoever ends up being selected. And so I just think it gives us more kind of skin in the game with, and okay, we're small, but we're mighty, and we want to be able to make sure that we are up there with all the other agencies as well. Even the agency, even County Connection in Contra Costa County and things like that, so. Any other questions from the board, Jennifer? All right, not too many. I didn't ask if we have any public comment.
We have 3 attendees. Did any comment that they'd like to? Please raise your hand. No one's raising their hand. I didn't receive any comment cards for this from the public, and I didn't get an email. Actually, no, we just did them. No, we're good.
All right, so we'll go ahead and ask if there's any a motion for approval of the resolution of 4/2024 for LAVTA's 2024 legislative program.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second.
Vice Chair Branning?
Aye.
Dr. Brown?
Aye.
Dr. Hubbard?
Aye.
Dr. Josie? Aye. Dr. Kipp? Aye. Dr. Testa?
Aye.
Chair Hernandez?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Item number 7 is our Go Tri-Valley program modification.
Great, and Michael Tobin, our Director of Operations, will be taking this, will be presenting this item for your consideration.
Yes, thank you, Christy. Good afternoon, everyone. Mike Tobin, Director of Operations, and today I will be presenting on item number 7. This is a resolution authorizing the executive director to implement some programmatic modifications to the Go Try Valley program. I do have some slides. We'll just get started. So as you all know by now, over the past year, we have seen ridership on this program basically skyrocket as a result of a very successful marketing. Next slide.
Hold on.
So again, there's a slide showing the exponential jump in usage of the program. And so as a result of this increase in ridership, we actually came before the board back in September to extend both contracts with Uber and Lyft and to increase the contract amounts for both. However, with the caveat that we would return and staff would mull over and look over some potential alternatives that could help curtail ridership and bring program costs in line. So that's basically what we are doing there. Next slide, please. Just click through this one. It's just repeating what I've already said. Slide as well. So at the January Project and Services Committee meeting, staff came and actually presented a host and variety of different alternatives that were analyzed. And each one of these alternatives were based on impact to existing ridership as well as the anticipated reduction in operating costs associated with this program. So I'll just run through the alternatives very quickly. So no changes to the program. Alternative 2 would be eliminating the program. Actually capping the number of trips overall on a monthly basis per rider at 10, capping it at 6. Restricting hours to when fixed route buses are not running. Restricting service area to mirror our fixed route network, so basically geofencing. And ultimately staff recommended to P&S committee alternative 3A, which is capping the number of trips per rider to 10 for both Uber and Lyft every month. And the reason for this recommendation is essentially it really mitigates the impact to the riders that are currently utilizing the program, and it also results in a projected 38% decrease in costs. So that's why we're ultimately recommending this alternative. Next slide, please. So as you can see, based on this alternative, this would reduce costs and bring it back in line. Next slide. So the next step, the board would authorize the executive director to make programmatic modifications to the Go Try Valley program and implement the monthly subsidized cap of 10 trips per user for TNC platform. If this is approved, we would work with Uber and Lyft to implement this, do some public outreach so riders are aware of the changes. And then the members of the Project and Services Committee actually recommended that, where their feedback was that we continue to monitor ridership, come back in 6 months and see, is this actually working or not? There was also a suggestion to see if we could potentially implement a waiver for certain commuters using this program on a regular basis. So basically waiving and cap allowing them. So that is something that staff will analyze. So that is all I have for you. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Any questions from board?
What would constitute someone getting a waiver? Was that this?
We need to think it through.
Okay.
It was a great suggestion. We have some super users that, I think skew some of the data. We've got some folks that are taking many trips per month. We want to make sure we're outreaching to them so that they understand what the changes are. And I think we want to be open if there's someone who is truly taking this because there is no bus and they're taking it every day for work. We think that could be a valid reason to allow for more trips. So I think we want to almost take a wait and see approach after we do the outreach to the super users.
Yeah. It just sounds difficult to pick whose job route is important enough for a waiver.
Agreed.
And then this is extremely costly. But our cities aren't built for buses. There are so many single family homes, it's not necessarily possible to be close to a bus route, so that's not something the bus agency can fix, and as cities are attempting to do a better job, with transit-oriented building, we're not there yet, so. And this is not something you've already done, but was it ever thought about of the cost of LAVTA utilizing something that already has all of the infrastructure, like Lyft and Uber versus doing a dial-a-ride for all community members? My guess is it's probably cheaper to do what we're doing now. But is that something that we could consider as magical money falls from the sky from the government?
I don't even know if magical money needs to fall from the sky for that. Next month, the board will consider taking action on our long-range plan. We do have micro-transit zones identified, and I think we do want to see how the route network performs. We've got, we're taking a risk with reinstating the Route 18, the Route 4 that had, that were not very productive. And so we could, if we see that the ridership is light, we could very well be making a recommendation to convert one of those routes to a micro transit. Yeah, so I think absolutely it's on my mind. I've had success implementing micro transit in the past, and I think it might be a very good fit for this community.
Don't want to go first, second this time. Great comments too. I wasn't at the meeting, but the idea of a waiver and doing a study for it, for how to implement it, I'd like to rethink it. You get it, you don't, it just doesn't feel right. And then, you did a good point of saying you're taking it to work, but you're taking it to daycare. So which one's more important? So I'm not sure if I can support the waiver program. The bus system used to be, or expecting a 1/4 mile walk, I think it was, to get to a fixed route. And we want to encourage fixed route. We're a fixed route system. We tried the Uber Lyft alternative for some of the areas that really were difficult to service with a fixed route, like literally bus couldn't get to parts of Dublin. And so it was an option. We've expanded with Go Tri-Valley, but it doesn't, something about it doesn't sit quite well with me and the staff to do research to go, how can you do a waiver program that seems difficult from day one? I'm struggling with it myself. And then who monitors these 10 rides? If I take 10 on Uber and 10 on Lyft, do I get away with doing 20 then?
You're allowed to do that, yeah. It's per platform, per user, per platform, per month. And our platform partners, they have to set it up in the back end, and then they would, we don't know, we have to ask whether a person gets like a countdown, so they know how many trips they've taken each month. We still have to work with our project partners there, but they can implement this very easily.
And I will just add that this really is addressing the super users. I mean, we have folks who are taking 60 trips a month. So again, by reducing it and giving 20 trips a month, again, we're able to reduce costs by almost 40% while minimizing impact to existing riders.
Which I love the idea of kind of capping the super users, but what if they're taking it to work then, right? What are we doing then? So, so a few overusing it, especially if maybe they live right on a fixed route line. Just it's a challenge for me, for the whole thing. I love Go Tri-Valley. It's just how to monitor it. But if you're TNC, which is your trans organization, and then marketing, whatever you did for these Go Tri-Valley, can you do it for fixed route?
Yes.
It's fixed route. These folks should be on fixed route. And if at all possible, there are people, of course, like our dial-a-ride folks who physically cannot do that. But I'm assuming these folks can do it. If you can take it 60 times in a month, that's a heck of a lot of riding on our 50% paid track. So
On Uber's gas with our money.
with our money. So I'm just gonna say out loud, I agree with Brittany. I just can't see how this waiver system is gonna work. So.
And I apologize, we aren't intending to come up with a waiver program. I was intrigued by the.
So you should be able to get information from Uber Lyft where these folks are going.
In some cases, we can. a lot of it's anonymized, but, we will do a little digging. But I wasn't sold on the waiver program. I just wanted to make sure we acknowledge that comment that was made in projects and services. I expressed the same concern that it is difficult to assess what's a valid, like I'm a half a mile from a bus and I felt like that would be too hard, but I wanted to just make sure the board was aware that that comment was made. Director Branning made the comment, so,
But maybe some of these the bigger high-end users are using it to go to a job. I get it, it's within a certain, but they can afford it.
yeah.
And they're just keeping their car in the garage and not using their gas. And having someone pick them up, and that's my only issue with it, is they're still taking a vehicle to get there, right? And their car could be in the garage and not using it. So the super users are taking advantage of it. But that's what it wasn't meant for, you know. Evan?
Yeah, so just a comment on that. So the idea was basically just something to monitor if there are people who were, using it legitimately without an alternative to transit currently. So my guess is we get somewhere between 0 and a small handful of people asking about it. And so for Christy to be prepared and be open for the option that maybe there are people who would exceed the 10 cap and have legitimate purpose for that. They don't live near a fixed route. They're using it to get to a fixed route or get to BART or, something like that. So that was the idea. It wouldn't be something I think that would be implemented as part of the program itself. Initially, just something to monitor. Also on that, one of the other comments that was made at projects and services that I think is important in context with this, the other part is trying to look at ways to over time reduce use with, the kind of things that LAVTA is doing instead of having us just fund Lyft and Uber, which is where this money is currently going, figuring out ways we can bring it back in and meet the needs of the people who are, need microtransit or something like that. So just as the waiver idea was really a Band-Aid in the interim between hopefully us eventually phasing this program out.
Yeah, and I'll bring it up in our, right before, on our item, just item 9, but, with regards to what are we looking at for the last mile, I think, so I'm not seeing any other questions.
Do we have? I know that some of it's anonymized, but that data, how long are these trips? And so it's what, up to $5?
It's half the fare, up to $5 off.
Up to $5 off.
Yeah.
So if someone has $100, unfortunately, no, it costs $100 to get to the airport. So if someone pays $100 to get to the airport.
Well, the trip has to be taken inside the
Yeah,
tri-valley.
it's in the Tri-Valley.
So, but could I charge me from my house to the edge of,
Not unless you got out of the,
and then restart
Yeah,
at my route?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So these are all really
Within,
within our service
Correct,
areas,
yes.
but not potentially within each city.
right, no, this started as Go Dublin, just geofencing the city of Dublin. And we expanded the geofence to include all of the Tri-Valley in 2020, 2021 for a variety of reasons. And so, yeah, I'm not sure the average trip length. That's a really interesting question. I suspect it's probably, they're short. And when you look at the heat map, which I don't think, we have that in our projects and services committee meeting. We didn't have it in this presentation, but you see trips being taken everywhere. I mean, you see trips like in places where we don't have regular fixed route bus service, like I'm thinking Ruby Hills, I saw that on the map light up, and definitely in Dublin and Livermore. At the BART station, it's hard to say, are these folks able to take a bus in lieu of this? That's something I tried to figure out years ago when I was director of planning. And at that time, our project partners were not, getting a survey out to customers was a challenge. And so, it's still something I'm very curious about. And I would also say this is just our first attempt to kind of pull costs back. We can come back. If we're not seeing any change, we can make further modifications. We can geofence it so they can only take it to and from a bus route. So there are options. I think this is an important program. I think people really do like it. I think you'll hear from some commenters on the line here that they are in support of us keeping it. I think it makes us unique, but I agree we need to watch it.
I don't think it will affect any decision I'm making. I'm just purely curious. If you wanted to share the heat map with the non,
Oh, sure.
because I think it's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
Why, you wanna see that the Ruby Hill people are gonna get $5?
I don't need to pick on Ruby Hill.
Listen,
I'm not
for all
ready.
you
No, I
know,
don't
that
know.
is a
Yeah.
healthcare
Could be a service
provider.
worker.
Yeah.
Could be a service
Going to
worker.
Ruby
I was
Hill.
thinking it could be a child, 17-year-old getting to
She said going to the mall.
job or the mall or going to Dublin to go shopping or Livermore to go shopping. You
I know,
never
but
know. You never.
I
know.
think the whole reason why this was created was to be able to kind of do lots of that kind of type things, but for folks to be more green, but that's not really being green if your car is still in the garage. So I think that's the issue I have with it is there's other forms that, do we start looking back into an SAV type thing? An autonomous vehicle that it would pick up more than just one person. So.
I agree that the idea initially was it was a shared vehicle too. It wasn't
Yeah, let's
just-
share. That's a good point.
It wasn't just any Uber,
Yeah.
it had to be the Uber, whatever it was Uber, was that Uber X, it was. Uber.
Lyft Line and Uber Pool.
Uber Pool, thank you.
They don't do that anymore.
And I know they don't do it anymore because with COVID, people didn't want to share and so that whole service went away. But to your point, it wasn't having a zillion cars on the road. It was a shared ride, because the cost was cheaper. But also it was for areas that don't have bus service. So as we are looking down the road, if this doesn't bring the cost down to where it needs to be, certainly the idea of it being in areas that we cannot serve. So going from those areas to areas that we do serve. So the start or stop needs to be at a, bus stop or BART station so that they then can take transportation. So being truly the first and last mile, as opposed to we'll take you anywhere in the Tri-Valley you want to go so that you can bypass our bread and butter service. And I think
So I
would
think,
get
I
us
think
down
we
to
blocked like the whole reason why this was
Right.
created and it's unfortunate that it's gone that way because now people take advantage of it. So the people that really do need it, then, it's gonna be this near stone as well. So, but I think we have to go back to like the basic, like why did we create this? And then how can we kind of make it better versus just making Uber and Lyft more money and saving people $5 from,
Well, and making it more convenient for people. I don't want to wait an hour for the bus, so I'm gonna use Go Tri-Valley because it'll go when I want to go as opposed to when the bus runs.
I do have a comment. I mean, the other thing on, what is it, alternative 4 points out the benefit of when being able to get a ride when the buses aren't running during hours that they're not running. And I think that's a very valid and interesting benefit of this program. So
Thank you for that. Again, but it's using our funding. And I think that's what I have an issue with is that I get it that we don't have, because we're also limited on funding, right? We depend on, the state to give us money. We depend on certain, and so I think it just goes back to if we keep using that $5 multiple times, and then it's still coming out of someone's pocket.
okay, but I guess I'm confused by that when I see that the $5 is a much more cost effective than adding a line after hours. And so we're able to provide more service without having the expense of another line or a full bus.
But we wouldn't run those buses anyways at those times.
I understand we wouldn't run them anyway, so there is a lack of service at which if there would be a demand if somebody is actually making this call.
Yeah, then I don't want to get off too much off the subject, but again, it's not, so you're not figuring out who's the person that's actually using it, right? Is it someone that, again, it was for the last mile, it wasn't to go take you grocery shopping and the car still being in the garage. It was meant to be more green and to be able to provide the services to get people to share the vehicle. But if it's one person, how is that being green?
Well, I certainly wasn't here when the program started, so it being more green. To me, that doesn't make sense because a bus service, while it's an additional noble goal, I don't think that is the intent of Wheels in providing transportation. So I wouldn't see that as the primary purpose of this program. I think this program is cost effective because it's when we have buses that have 3 riders per trip, a lot of bus lines that 3 riders, that's not cost effective or green.
But those
And
are
I
fixed
see this
routes.
program as providing that additional service.
No,
that
I get what you're saying, but those, our routes are always intended to be fixed routes.
Well, and I think, Mayor Brown's, comment about when you look at this graph and the start of the marketing campaign, I think that is probably the most significant thing in this report is, let's do that.
And what may have happened with that marketing campaign is it may have just made people who were already taking Uber aware that this
They could get
existed and that they can just.
Exactly.
For all of their, because we were chugging along at night and like just kind of normal growth for the past few years. And this, I mean, I saw this campaign in my Facebook. It was a TikTok life hack style campaign. Very well done. We still have the advertising company under contract to help us with Wheels in Motion. But yeah, I do think it's in largely probably subsidizing trips that would have already occurred. I think the goals of this have changed big time since the program worked. I think it's a great conversation. And yeah, I think we can keep watching it and come back to the board by the end of the year and see where we're at. That's okay. Yeah.
I'd like to request that you meet, because our city managers meet with each one of us on the council and have some conversations. And I'm gonna say that you consider meeting with individual, have a conversation with each one of us, so it's a little bit more brainstorming instead of group, which is more cumbersome. So on this topic, only answering to the topic. Thank you.
Okay, so we would have to approve it. We would have to approve
The motion today, I think we have public comment.
oh, yeah, sorry.
So I didn't get anything through an email for this. Was there anybody in the public that would like to speak? Please raise your hand.
It's heard on
If there's anybody that would like to do public comment as an attendee, please raise your hand.
He's trying to raise his hand to speak. Please promote me to speak, he says. At 4:29, he said that. That's perfect.
Okay.
That's why you have a cell phone. They love texting.
Yes.
Hi, Herb. Just unmute yourself.
Herb, can you please unmute?
Yeah, here we are. The system's having a glitch. Thank you, Jennifer, for accepting my text request. I'm already going to have my fun. Christy, you got the same text. I'm very shocked. You have told me what I see out of this. I remember the original reason for this program, and it was to eliminate unnecessary riders for dial ride. As an example, me. Okay, I was using dial ride a lot to ride around, and I physically started using the bus. Okay, so I went to the Uber idea to make it convenient for myself. And now you're telling me, if I understand this, you're telling me you're either going to lower the ability of using this to 10 rides. I actually looked at the notes, guys. 10 rides per month instead of the $20 per month allowance. What's, and then you're taking everything from the purpose of the Gold Tri Valley That was what I pushed 5 years ago, 10 years ago, when this whole thing started. We started in Dublin. It succeeded. It took me 5 to 7 years to get someone to make it go into the valley-wide. Now I go to Pleasanton when I have a doctor's or a dental appointment, sometimes like today. So that's what I'm trying to say. And then you have people that don't live within a half a mile that need to get to a bus stop is not easy. The current door-to-door system. And then the other thing I said, or going to tell the board, you didn't even bring this up to the TVAC committee before you even considered coming to you. So your process of sending it to the board before you send it to TVAC, because if I take and send it to the chairman right now, he's gonna go, what's going on over there? Because if I was chair, which I was 2 years ago, I'd already be on top of you guys with this. And that's my 5 minutes. I know I went over. I appreciate the extra time.
Thank you. Did you want to go ahead and make a comment?
Yeah, I just want to provide some gentle correction. This program was not designed for our ADA passengers. While we love it when our ADA passengers who are able to take this can use it, they can greatly benefit from this discount in addition to our parataxi discount. This program was originally designed to provide coverage for fixed route customers on the Route 3 in Dublin who were losing their bus service. And we did not take this to the Accessible Advisory Committee for their approval because it was not this is not an accessible program. This is not designed for our paratransit customers exclusively.
Christine, I just want to add, I'm sorry, but I may be thinking of the parataxi program because he mentioned $20.
No, I think it's
20 rides.
20 rides.
Yeah, I think we're 10 rides.
I heard it say $20, so I think he's referring to the parataxi program.
Can you just reach out to him, please?
Yeah. Herb, we'll circle up with you to get clarification on your concerns.
Yeah, I mean, I might be wrong on some of this, but I do remember the process was to eliminate or to assist with the one ride. You reminded me about the one route was being discontinued, and that was what the pilot was for Dublin. And then eventually I pushed to get it to be valley-wide because the committee members were even asking about it that lived in Pleasanton. And eventually you guys pushed it over to all 3 cities. And it makes it very accessible and very helpful. If it wasn't mainly for the ADA side, but that allowed, my opinion, my view of this is another way of looking at it, is there was a part of time where Dial-A-Ride was overloaded with so many unnecessary riders. As an example of me, I was using Dial-A-Ride more than I was using a bus. And so we were preparing for the eventual in the future when Dial-A-Ride starts getting more and more riders that are physically unable to go anywhere on their own, as in seniors.
Thank you, Herb. I'm gonna have Christy finish that conversation with you because I don't want to have a dialogue during.
I appreciate the extra 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, I don't think we have any more public comments, so I will go ahead and bring it back to the board. With moving forward to have a motion with regards to having the executive director to make more pragmatic modifications to the Go Tri-Valley program.
I'll move that we go with option 3A for the Go Tri-Valley program and turn it back to us to the Projects and Services Committee in 6 months to see how that's going.
I'll second.
And before we vote, if I can ask, what is, I don't use Uber or Lyft very often, but when I do, it's never been under a $20 ride. So the $5 discount, I mean, it's not a 50% off. There's still a significant cost. What do the rides tend to be?
I know that our average, fare is under $5. So that means, I think there's short trips that are occurring. These also could be, you know, you see surge pricing. Some of these might be trips that are occurring when, there's not as much demand, for the TNC, for the Transportation Network Company. The monthly cost per trip is $4.76 in December.
Wow,
So it is cost efficient.
very cost efficient. Okay. I guess what I would like to know is how much, it costs. What a bus costs for 3 riders.
Okay, I might even have it in my.
Okay,
pocket.
so
Yeah.
next time we won't, you guys have to ask your questions before. If we're in the middle of vote, we can't go back and forth and clarify the question. So when we're ready to take the vote, I'll let you go ahead and do this, but please.
So our fixed route cost, per passenger trip is $12.07. So if you had a bus of 3, it would be $36.
Thank you.
It's $12, not $2.
So I'm gonna do roll call. Vice Chair Branning,
Aye.
Dr. Brown,
Aye.
Dr. Hubbard,
You're on mute.
yeah.
Aye.
Director Josie. Aye. Dr. Kidd. Aye. Dr. Testa.
Aye.
And Chair Hernandez.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, so we will go ahead and go to item number 8, which is our executive director's report.
Thank you, Chair Hernandez. Just briefly, your ridership is going up again. If you look at your year over year, we see an increase of about 18% compared to December of last year. We had a productive meeting with Emerald High School leadership about 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. We met with the principal and we talked about route planning. We actually developed a very short survey. We sent out the survey. I meant to look at the results before I came into this room and I forgot. But we had over 250 responses within a day. And we have a work cut out for us, it seems. 43% of those who responded when I looked at it said they intend to take the bus. And so that is perhaps not in alignment with what we were thinking. So we have a little bit of, we're gonna do some alternative development with staff. What if then type things, because we can't add buses at this point. So whatever, we have to peel away from Dublin High to allocate to Emerald, and they will have the same bell times. So we can't be more efficient with our resources. So we are going to come up with some options, and I think probably have to get the leadership from both schools in the room to talk about a service plan. So we have our work cut out for us, but I'm glad that this survey was suggested. I don't remember whose suggestion it was, but I know it came from the board. And now we have email addresses too of all the parents. So we've asked people to opt in if they want more information. So we are, I think, on track to bring our Emerald High School plan to the committee, I think in April, if I'm not mistaken, yes. And then we just learned BART is also completely redoing their schedule. They are not changing the 20-minute service, but they are shifting it. So we have to reprint all of our schedules in August. So this is, it's aggravating, but we got heads up. We got an early head start on this. They knew how frustrated we were. So yeah, so they gave us a heads up, and they even, we asked, could you do this? Just change the trains a little, and it's a little bit more complicated than that. So Cyrus Sheik is our service planner. He's brilliant, and he's going to be doing a lot of scheduling over the next few months. So we have, Dublin High, Emerald High, our service change in March, and then another change in August.
So could I ask on the service change for Dublin High Emerald? I mean, what's the reason for not staggering a little bit? Because the communities do that all the time. They try to stagger the schools so parents can pick up at the different schools also. I mean, it's just like a 15-minute offset or something, right?
Well, I state law, you can't start school.
The 2 high schools will be on the same bell schedule, but the middle schools will be 15 minutes offset. So there's offset, it's just the 2 high schools are on the same schedule.
Is that state law?
Well,
No.
state law, they can't start school before 8:30.
Yeah, but they just start 8:45. One of them start.
Well, yeah,
8:45, One would finish at 3:15 or something.
We finished very late already because of the 7 period schedule, so they don't wanna start any later than they have to. In Dublin.
And start at 7:45. I'm just trying to offset them.
Yeah.
Can't start before. We can't start before
It's a state
8.
law.
It's a state
Before
law.
8.
You
Or
cannot
whatever
start
the
before
time is.
8:30.
8:30, it's a new law.
We used to have a 7th period in the beginning, I think, and people would start
Yeah, we-
earlier.
It's
We
within
got
like
the
the
last
last
zero
year.
period plus a 7
Last couple years now.
You know?
However, I will continue to advocate for staggered schedules at any opportunity that I get, because it is very important. It is very important, and so, I mean, I'm not gonna lose an
It's a
opportunity.
resource thing, yeah.
Pleasanton is changing high school boundaries, we're watching that also will be impactful for us, so.
And Livermore is not, we use fixed routes for
Yes.
our buses, but they're changing the day of school start.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, thank you, they're going to the semester system, I think, okay.
So just
That-
FYI,
that's
they're gonna be
better.
like, why are there all these kids on the bus suddenly? It's a week early.
Thank you. So lots going on with school planning. We are gearing up to implement the Wheels in Motion new network, March 23rd. We issued a press release that was picked up by several news sources, the Pleasanton Weekly, the Independent, and then Mass Transit Magazine. So that was nice. We are working on a network preview that will launch in the transit app. So this will allow customers to pre-trip plan, to test to see what the new schedule will look like. It also allows us an opportunity to QA/QC our schedule. So I've wanted to do a network preview for as long as I've been in transit, and we actually are making it happen. So kudos to my team. So that's super exciting. We honored Miss Rosa Parks yesterday. It was her birthday. And so we saved a seat for her on every bus in her honor. And I am so excited about this. We're doing it again next year. So that was very special. And we are also gearing up for St. Patrick's Day festivities. Time is just going fast. We'll be in the parade, we'll have a booth, and we will be offering free rides on our 30R to and from the festival. And last but not least, at least in this section of my report, Transit Driver Appreciation Day is March 18th. That's my daughter's birthday. And we will be providing lunch for the drivers. So as details develop, I will let you know, but it would be, of course, impactful to have you come by and meet our operators if you are able to. We'll have good food. In the finance and administration bucket, I was appointed to serve on the Clipper Executive Board. One more meeting. So this is great. The Clipper Executive Board oversees all of the Clipper related policies for the region. It's comprised of the 7 large operator general managers, and the small operators have 2 seats. So Bill Churchill, who runs County Connection, has been serving as our representative, and he asked if I wanted to. And so I said yes. And so that's exciting. And
meet you and who else?
it's me, Eddie Cummings. He is the general manager for Smart up in Sonoma.
Okay.
And then it's all like Bob Powers, April Chan, Jeff Tumlin, Carolyn.
When I was just
Devon.
worried about the small.
Yeah. Just small.
Is it a Zoom meeting or do you have to?
Oh, we have to go. It is, yeah, it
It's
is
a big
a
zone.
4-hour trek there and back. Tomorrow I just had to go through it's in MTC in San Francisco.
Do they give you a pass?
What? Did a bar
They don't give you a pass for the garage?
Oh, no, I take BART, so I don't want to drive in now, but no, we have to pay for the parking. Okay, but I'll check, we'll see if I can get my hands
And we
on
have
pass.
to pay for accepted when we go to ACTC, we have to pay for
Yeah. I know Jennifer, who's already left, mentioned that we are closely watching some of these bills. We have SB 925, which is Senator Wiener's bill. That is the spot bill that will contain the enabling legislation for a future regional measure. The Senator, or SB 926 Wahab, we spoke about that. And then AB 1837, Pappen was introduced. We think it's a counter bill to Wahab's bill, and it is just a sentence about encouraging coordination and collaboration among Bay Area transit agencies. We released our East Bay Coalition, our lobbyist RFP, and proposals are due this Friday. So we are expecting to have a coalition lobbyist under contract within the next 2 weeks. We will have our state and federal and grant writing lobbyist RFP issued here in the next few weeks. And hope to have a firm under contract just for LAVTA around the March timeframe. Things are moving fast. In your packet, you have the statistics. I won't go through too much, but we do report every month the fully allocated cost per passenger. So this is not the fare that the passenger pays. This is how much it costs the agency to provide that trip after you take out all the passenger fares. So just to give you an idea, when we eliminated the Route 3 in Dublin in 2016, I think the cost per passenger was about $20 to $25. So $4 is a lot cheaper, but $12 isn't too terrible. So we do include this statistic every month. I also think we might have an error on page 52 of your packet and the chart at the bottom. I'm going to check in on the full cost, the paratransit cost per passenger and the passengers per hour. So I'm going to check on that. We are reimagining your board statistics. They will look different when you see them at your next board meeting. We'll be presenting some concepts to the Finance and Admin Committee in February. And last but not least, your Go Tri-Valley ridership went up in December. And so we are taking action at the right time. And then we have a full calendar for you, busy with getting our allocation requests in. We have an on-call marketing contract award that will be coming to the Finance and Admin Committee here in early spring. And in projects and services, we'll bring you the long-range plan this month. Preliminary marketing plan for the Wheels in Motion rollout will also be presented to the committee. And then we will be bringing you your paratransit customer satisfaction results in March. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any question? I just want to make sure I understand this, and maybe it's good for the board too.
Yes.
So on your first page of your monthly summary statistics, it says that your full cost per passenger per hour, which is different than per ride. So it's like $12, right? But we charge, and I just looked down my phone, $2.
Yes. Yes.
So what you're saying is it costs us $12 to move a person from point A to point B, and we charge them $2. So that means $10 is why we need funding to run the organization.
It's actually $14 of what it charges, it costs us, and we remove the passenger fare, so the net cost.
This is net.
It's the net, yeah, and we can make that clear.
So that's okay. So $12 for someone to get on the bus and deliver them from point A to B, student or not.
Yeah.
I know you have a day pass, but student or not, we have to supplement every rider with $12.
Yeah.
That is shocking to me, just how the fare ride tickets don't begin to offset the cost of running a transit organization, which is why we need grants and grant writers and all that. Okay, all right, thank you. I just
why
want to
we
really
need
drive
lower
that home.
cost.
That, yeah. It makes that little $4.50 ride on an Uber Lyft a little bit better idea.
That's why that is why it was initiated, because
Yeah.
it was a
I
lot
would've
cheaper.
stopped sooner. Mhm. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, matters initiated by the board. The only thing I want to bring up is looking into, I know you have a lot of things on your plate right now with regards to what are we gonna start doing with it, you know, system to get into that last mile. To and from. I know when Michael was here, he brought forward something with bikes, but I know Dublin was not interested. We had a conversation with them, but there's a little text I sent you on Broadway from Contra Costa County, which they've been working on it for a while, so I'm not sure if that's something they're looking to in the future.
Yeah.
That's not, you know, I was just like, hey, by the way, FYI, this is what this is. So, I know that we're not looking at SAVs right now, but what's the future look like?
Okay, we can do that. And we have our long range plan also coming to.
Anything else? Evan? All right, so our next meeting is on March 4th, and our meeting is adjourned at 5:07.